Right. So getting started. So when you're ready to list, we actually recommend that the first thing you do is value your business using our Flippa's free valuation tool. So this is a free tool and it takes just 5 minutes. And this is going to give you a sense of basically how much your online asset or your business is worth and what an appropriate price range might be. Now, this tool doesn't spit out like an exact figure you should list for, exactly this much money, but it'll give you a good range, a good starting point, a good way to frame and think about your business and how much it might be worth in the market. So we basically just ask a few questions and you let us know your URL, your monetization strategy, how old your site is. Like you said, age is very important. Approximately, how much time you spend on it. And of course, the revenue. The revenue and the traffic are the two most important things that go into our valuation. So we'll give you an asking price range. And once you've got that range, you can go ahead and go to Flippa and start selling.
Thanks, Stefan. I think one of the things I just want to add there is that remember that is a range. We take into consideration your inputs, but there are other elements which go into a buyer deciding how much your business is worth. And so it's a really, really interesting thing to remember, because we often see that sellers will say to buyers, Flippa valued my business at X. So no, I will not accept what you have offered. Now, what Flippa has pointed out is that based on your inputs, based on an analysis of over 50,000 different assets sold on Flippa, this is approximately what your business could be worth. But ultimately, it's in the eye of the beholder. It is ultimately up to a buyer to decide how much they're willing to pay. Now, of course, you can decide at any given time whether you will accept that or you won't accept it.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, a business is just worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So we'll show you how to get the most for your business now. So, it's pretty straightforward. When you go to Flippa, you click Start Selling, you go down the funnel. Rather than take you through the listing process, the only thing I'll touch on real quickly is the difference between established businesses and starter businesses, or starter websites, as we call them. If you're kind of confused about where you fall in, it's a pretty simple rule. If your business is making money and it's more than 6 months old, it's an established business. And that's what we'll be focusing on today.
Fantastic.
So, excellent. Cool. So I think what I'd like to do is actually show some examples of some great listings that are live now. So
yeah, let's do that. I think you're going to show us a really interesting example, actually.
Yeah. So this first one is a business called Top Nail Fungus Treatment.
Can you say that one more time?
topnailfungustreatment.com.
Okay,
and
great.
this is interesting. This is a really cool business to use as an example. I'm going to talk about a lot of things with this business, but I want to kind of focus on the most important things that buyers look for.
Can we just talk about that image for a second?
Yeah. Well, an image is worth 1,000 words. And as a seller, it's your job to draw the user's attention, draw the buyer's attention away from other listings in the marketplace. And there's lots of ways to do that. And this is one of them. And frankly, I think they did a great job. Now, it has nothing to do with toes or fungus, but maybe that's on purpose.
Yeah. Can I just ask you a question? Do you recommend that people upload a screenshot of their website, a shot of a product, or what do you think about this? Should they just upload something which is relevant and exciting?
No, it's a great question. And, look, humans are visual creatures, and the image is what's going to grab the buyer's attention. And this is especially true with a new search experience we're rolling out very shortly, in the next few days, actually. This new search experience really emphasizes the image. And like I said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so to answer your question, your goal is to grab the buyer's eye, right? Grab their attention. And, a great photo can have a huge impact here. So while it is tempting to use a screenshot of your website, and oftentimes that works if it's a great screenshot, I would recommend actually just getting creative. Put your logo front and center instead. Have a nice, colorful, image with a person or something that the buyers can relate to. Instead of just a screenshot. So screenshot will always work, but to really stand out, get creative, be bold, be colorful. and it'll have a great impact on the merchandising of your listing.
Okay, so now I want you to talk our audience through step by step. What are the things that buyers look for?
Absolutely. So look, the very first thing that buyers look for is financials, right? Show me the money. How much money is this website making? We know this from user studies. We know this having been buyers ourselves. The first thing people look for is how much money is the site making, right? So this is, as a seller, we basically ask that you input your revenue and your expenses on a month-by-month basis for the most recent 12 months, right?
Yep.
So it's a pretty simple process, but the key isn't just declaring your revenue. The key is proving your revenue, right? And so there's a couple of ways to do that. The easiest way to do that is simply to upload attachments like crazy. Buyers love attachments, and attachments can be used to your advantage to prove that what you're claiming the site is making, the site is actually making. So what's a great example of an attachment? This listing has some fantastic attachments here. We've got monthly commissions. We've got a video walkthrough of earnings. It can be anything from a P&L statement or an extract from your Shopify dashboard or your Amazon dashboard or your Amazon affiliate earnings. Really, it's up to you. It's up to you as the seller to prove to the market that your claims and your financial claims that are shown on the listing page here in these nice, pretty graphs, that they're actually true. If you can have great financials and prove it through your attachments, you're in great shape.
And the other thing I'll add there is that buyers will ask for this stuff if you don't have it there. So it's not good enough to not be prepared and not have that information available at your fingertips to provide buyers when they inquire.
Absolutely. Look, your goal is to quell any potential buyer skepticism that they naturally have, right? And this is the best way to do that. So,
Okay.
so that's number one.
And number two, then, can you then talk a little bit about traffic and how that represents on the listing and why that's so critical for buyers?
Absolutely. So look, traffic is number two. Traffic is huge. We have made this really easy for you as a seller with our Google Analytics connector. So we integrate with Google Analytics, and if you use Google Analytics for your business, you can connect to Google Analytics in one click. And what that's going to do is it's going to pull in the last 12 months of traffic data, including uniques, page views, session duration, bounce rate, organic, direct, channels, countries, the whole 9 yards. And it puts it into this nice, pretty graph that shows up on the listing page. And after financials, I mean, this is number two for sure. This is what buyers are looking for. Frankly, it's gotten to the point now, because we've made this so easy, that if a listing doesn't have Google Analytics connected, buyers just they're not interested, right? Now, not every business has Google Analytics connected, and that's okay. But if you have it, you absolutely should use our one-click connector to get that data into the listing page, just like you see here.
Okay. Now, I'll just add a quick footnote there. There will be some people listening in who are domainers, and of course, you can sell a domain on Flippa. It's very, very simple to do, and that's why we're not spending as much time on domain merchandising right now. Similarly, for those people who are selling starter sites, we absolutely love you guys. You're the kind of lifeblood of the Flippa community. In most cases, you're going to be pre-revenue. In most cases, you're not going to have a traffic base. So that's okay. That's a different use case. What Stefan's talking about is a content site, an e-commerce site, a SaaS business, and or other established business. As he mentioned, that will typically mean 6 months and older and revenue generating. And so that's what Stefan's talking through right now.
Absolutely. Thanks for the clarification. And that's actually a great segue to the next point. And number three, what buyers look for. And number three is the description, the seller's note, right? So this is your chance to tell your story. Now, we've already talked about how important an image is, but an image is really designed to grab the buyer's attention through search, through their browsing of the site. Once you have their attention, the description is really critical. This is your chance to tell the world what makes you unique. And in fact, we've seen that listings that have rich, complete descriptions like this one here, they actually have a 3.5 times higher chance of selling than listings that don't. So let's take a look at this listing. I mean, this is absolutely just perfect. This is exactly what you want to be doing. You want to describe the business. You want to talk about the monetization techniques, lay them out 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Talk about the traffic, talk about some of the stats, right? And how the site is ranking, major points to notice. I mean, this is really great information. How future buyers can easily scale up the revenue, what mistakes I've made. This is excellent. I mean, every business has a story, and it's your job to tell that story, the good and the bad. Buyers don't mind if you've made mistakes in the past. They actually want you to tell them what those were so they don't have to waste their time trying the same thing. So if you tried an Instagram campaign and it didn't work, let them know, right? Let them know how much you spent, let them know what sales you made and what you would do differently in the future, right?
Yeah, this is a great point, Stefan. Thank you for saying that. One of the things I want to make sure that our sellers listening in are well aware of is that transparency is key. And one of the questions we actively encourage buyers to ask is, are there any skeletons in the closet? And so if you have those skeletons in the closet, you're far better off disclosing. Buyers respect that. They want to know what it is about the business, which is fantastic. But equally, they also want to know about what it is about the business or the asset that is, or the website or the blog that is not as they might know. And so think about that. The other thing I want to quickly point out is that we do get some people who just fundamentally don't understand the importance of a very, very detailed, well-written description. And so some people will say, I sell jewelry. That's not a great description. Buyers want to know what jewelry, where does it come from? What is your best seller? What is the average order value? What are your margins? So think about all of that. And I think that, what Stefan's pointing out here on this particular listing, on our toenail fungus listing, is that the more information is better.
Absolutely. And, to your jewelry point, like what makes your jewelry unique, right? What makes you stand out in the marketplace? And, Blake and I have seen listings with just average numbers, average financials and okay traffic, but that have a great description, sell for far more than expected. Yeah. Conversely, we've seen fantastic businesses where the seller has put very little effort into that description, kind of hoping the numbers will speak for themselves. They sometimes somewhat do, but not always. So it really is in your best interest to write the best description that you can.
Right. Can you touch on pricing for us?
Absolutely. So price is the final kind of piece of the puzzle here. What is the business priced at? Now we have auctions and fixed price, and I'll briefly touch on the difference between those two. A fixed price is good if you want exactly this amount and nothing, less, or don't want to deal with the having to deal with bidders and auctions. Choose a fixed price. For most people, an auction is going to be your best bet. And the reason is simple. An auction helps drum up interest, right? It helps drum up excitement. And you can even get buyers to get into bidding wars, like is clearly happening on this site right here, right now.
21 bids.
Yeah, and that's with 5 days left. And remember, most of the bidding happens in the last 2 or 3 days, even the last 2 or 3 hours, right? So this
that's an interesting point. And I sorry to interrupt you, mate, but I think you had a point to make about strategically positioning your auction to end on a certain date.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. It's it's a little fun fact we have. We'll reveal that in a sec. In terms of the price, though, look, I mean, we have the valuation calculator, and we have a guide price during the listing process that will tell you if you're way over or way under. That generally it's between 1.5, 2.5 times seller discretionary earnings. But ultimately, every business is different. Some businesses aren't making a lot of money, but their traffic is through the roof. There's value there, right? So that guide price is exactly that. It's a guide price. It's a starting point. Ultimately, you can list at the price that you want. Just all we recommend is be realistic. if you price it too high, you're going to scare people off. It's also going to erode the trust to some degree. So we recommend that you start a bit lower than you would want with an auction and drum up interest and have confidence that the market will help take it to the price that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I think one of the key pieces around your advice there is the reasonableness of price. You want to use price as a lure. And so what you don't want to do is put a price up on the page, which is going to scare buyers off. We get it. That might be what you want to receive for your asset. But in reality, drum up some interest. See what buyers are interested in paying. Get some sense of how they value it. Because how you value it is important, but how they value it is just as important. And so use price as a lure to generate interest.